This is TTT Live. I'm DK Roster. The new fast ferry, the APT James, has arrived in Trinidad and Tobago. Here's live coverage of the arrival at the cruise ship complex on Dock Road in Port of Spain on TTT, Talk City 91.1 FM, and on Facebook at TTT Live Online.
Welcome to the official coverage of the arrival of the APT James, the first ferry specifically built for inter-island domestic service. My name is Hans Devines. We're here at the cruise ship complex in Port of Spain, Trinidad. Before the arrival of this vessel, we're going to speak to some persons that are involved in the process of getting the vessel to Trinidad and Tobago, as well as those that will be involved in the maintenance thereafter. So before we get into all of that, let's take a look at the official reveal of the vessel to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
The National Infrastructure Development Company Limited is pleased to announce that the APT James has almost completed its 11,573 nautical mile journey from Vietnam to Trinidad and Tobago. This state-of-the-art vessel, built to the specifications and needs of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, will boost the operational efficiency of the inter-island ferry service. The APT James will inject an additional 926 seats and can accommodate up to 250 vehicles at a maximum speed of 37.5 knots. This vessel will provide safe and efficient travel between Trinidad and Tobago by encouraging domestic tourism, facilitating business transactions, providing easy access to goods and services, and most importantly, bringing you and your loved ones closer together. Get on board, stay connected, as the APT James makes its way home.
We are live on social media platforms as well as on TTT. Right now, though, we're joined by Chairman of the National Infrastructure Development Company, Mr. Herbert George. Chairman, thank you for being here with us this afternoon.
Thank you for having us.
Well, let us know and understand, what was NIDCO's involvement in the APT James?
Okay, well, first of all, after the government decided to enter into a government-to-government arrangement with the government of Australia for the purchase of these two fast ferries, using funding from from EFIC, which is the acronym for the Australia's Export Financing Company. That was in 2018.
Right.
So two Australian shipbuilders, INCAT and Oster, they journeyed to Trinidad to present and their types of vessels that they have been building over the years, and they have been quite successfully doing so over the years. So they basically came to sell us two vessels that they thought will fit the bill.
Yeah.
So they came to Trinidad. They did a presentation to a fairly large group consisting of cabinet ministers, experts, people from the business sector. And after that presentation, it was felt that what we were being offered seemed feasible. So subsequent to that, NIDCO was appointed as the agent to work on behalf of the government and to continue the procurement of those vessels. So NIDCO had a team of our NIDCO people, experts drawn from UTT, from the port, from business, and I think, yes, basically those were the groups.
So an all-encompassing group of individuals contributing to what the final product is.
Precisely. So that team was convened, and the shipbuilders made a similar presentation to the team.
Okay.
But at that time, although we were interested in what was being offered, our focus was to ensure that we are not just buying what they are offering, but they are giving us what we want. So during the presentation, the focus was to ensure that our requirements are catered for in whatever is being proposed. So we did that. We are also very mindful of the fact that the specifications must be appropriate, and the choice of major equipment was also very important. And it is, I say it with a bit of satisfaction today, that although we ended up with two vessels being built, designed and built by two separate shipbuilders, the major equipment on that vessel, the engines are the same. So they are both equipped with manned diesel engines. The generator, which is also a very major component, the generators are the same. They're coming from Caterpillar. I hope I'm not advertising for them, but that is what we have. So after that meeting, the shipbuilders were able to go away with the information that they got from us regarding our particular requirements. They were able to go away and do a tweaking of their proposal, a pricing of the proposal as well, and to submit to us a price proposal now, based on which was then aligned to our requirements. So those proposals were submitted. We assessed and evaluated the proposals before we sent our recommendations and the results of our assessment to Cabinet for approval. And I must say also that you will realize that the mode of procurement that we are using was selective tendering. And we are quite comfortable to do so, especially with those two shipbuilders who we accepted to be reputable, we accepted to be competent, and indeed, we were acquainted with the quality, the good quality of their work. So Ostel, for example, designed and built all our water taxis that we now have. Ostel also built that vessel that we're all in love with, the JDLV. It was built by Ostel. INCAT, on the other hand, INCAT built the TT Express and the TT Spirit. INCAT also built, well, I was fortunate to have seen one of the recently built vessel. That's in 2019. I was visiting Malta at the time, And Virtue Ferries is the owner of JDLV. They were taking delivery of a new vessel built by INCAT. So here you have the situation where they have JDLV built by Ostal, and they are now taking delivery of one of their newest vessel. It goes by the name St. John Paul II, and that was delivered to them in 2019. And I had a look at it, and if you think that JDLV is out of this world and it wows people, wait for the Book Reef and wait for the APT James that is coming in a short while, and which will be followed up by the Book Reef later on.
All right.
Year.
Chairman George, indeed a very, very, very thorough process, all-encompassing. But one of the things that I want to find out is what will NIDCO's role be after the vessel arrives?
Okay, after the vessel arrives, NIDCO will continue to maintain the vessel serviceable for use by the TIT on the inter-island seabridge service. Because we are very mindful of the fact that there's a strong tendency for us here to use and not maintain. And we know that if we were to adopt that destructive tendency, what we are so happy with today will not last very long and will not give us the level of satisfactory service that we know it can. So we will continue to maintain those vessels. And in fact, all the vessels are fitted with computer-based management module, maintenance management modules. And on this occasion, those will be used. We are not allowing those vessels to end up being abused, in other words, used and not maintained. So we'll continue to maintain those vessels and have them available for use by TTIT on the sea bridge. And we will do that until such time that ship management company is retained and put in place. And that ship management company is coming to manage the fleet that includes APT James, Booker Reef, and the Galleon's Passage. And basically they are coming to manage, yes, but they'll also be providing 6 out of the safe manning crew of 20 of each of the vessels. So the Booker Reef must have a minimum of 20 persons. The APT James must also have a minimum of 20 persons. And so the management company will be providing 6 of those persons on APT James, 6 of those persons, 6 of the other crew on Booker Reef. The other 14 persons will be recruited locally. And we will be taking steps to change the composition of that crew so that in short order, we will have a team that is essentially local, all right? But we have to intentionally work towards that. We can't just say it and feel that it's going to happen. We have to get people to put in place to replace those foreign operatives so that we can take charge. So, so NIDCO will how should I say? NIDCO will decrease while the management company, ship management company, will increase. But we'll remain there to ensure that those things are properly taken care of.
Thank you very much, Chairman of NIDCO, Mr. Herbert George. Thank you so much for being here with us, Chairman, and we look forward to the arrival of the APT James, which is in Trinidad and Tobago waters as we speak. Earlier on today, the APT James passed by Tobago, and this is what that looked like.
Alexander.
Indeed, folks in Tobago very excited about the vessel being in Trinidad and Tobago, as it will assist so many of us in getting from island to island. Look at our beautiful port here in Trinidad, in Port of Spain. We are joined right now by our representative from the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. He is here, Mr. Lyle Alexander, and he's going to outline for us what the APT James is going to do in terms of the inter-island ferry service. Mr. Alexander, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Well, let us understand, what will this vessel do for the inter-island transport?
Well, after the excitement dies down, you mean, of its arrival. The arrival of the APT James will certainly bring, first of all, a level of comfort, I think, and sort of the proof of that this promise has been fulfilled to start with. And that should give our traveling public, in particular, a level of confidence in the sea bridge once again. So this vessel coming onto the system at the moment, or as soon as it comes on schedule, will certainly give people an opportunity to kind of relax, knowing that we now have an opportunity to travel to and from Trinidad or between Trinidad and Tobago in comfort and with a level of confidence that, of course, is a new vessel, so we expect no breakdowns and things of that nature. And once again, I'm assured that from the business perspective and from just the traveling public perspective, the key thing, I think, will be that level of comfort and confidence in the system that has been prepared for them.
Chairman Alexander, let us know what the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago has done to sort of prepare for this arrival.
What we have been doing is, first of all, focusing a lot more on our customer service. We have had some challenges in the past, but I think over the last couple of years, we have made a significant difference in terms of being able to deliver a quality service to our traveling public. That speaks to the softer side of the service. In terms of the physical side of the service, there are things that we are still working on in terms of infrastructure, things that we're still working on to improve, to get better over time. For example, we still have some work to do on the ramps. We have some more. That's the major area at the moment that we need to improve. But other than that, we are as prepared as we can be at this stage of the game for these new vessels, for this particular one and the other one to come. And we look forward to delivering a higher quality of customer service. But that's really our focus. Our customers need to feel as if that they are, we want to equate their travel on the ferry service to that of going to New York on Cal, where they can travel in comfort with a certain amount of pride, knowing that this service is provided for them and they can do it in this way.
Of course. Thank you very much, Chairman Lyle Alexander of the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, some people may wonder, who was APT James? Some may be sitting down and saying, yes, this man was truly a political pillar in our Twin Island Republic. So for those of you all that don't exactly know who APT James is and what his contributions were, and even for those of you all that understand his contributions, here's a look at the man that was APT James.
Born in Patience Hill, Tobago, APT James was an avid advocate for labor issues and was best known for his passionate drive for political, social, and economic development in Tobago. He contended that if Tobago's infrastructure, sea transport, and social services were improved, the island would achieve economic viability. James, a member of the Tobago Labour Party, was elected to the Legislative Council in 1946 and served until 1961. His advocacy resulted in several victories for Tobago, including the purchase of 2 new steamships for the inter-island route in 1960. A true visionary, James lobbied for a special ministry to handle Tobago's affairs. As a result, the first Ministry of Tobago Affairs was duly established in 1964. James died in 1962, leaving Tobago in a far better place because of his unrelenting advocacy.
My father, A.P.T. James, who I will refer to after this as Daddy, was a self-made man, as the jargon would say. He started from humble beginnings, grassroots. He experienced challenges in life. And because of his determination, he was able to overcome most of those challenges. And from literal poverty, he was at one time called Tobago Governor and even the richest man in Tobago.
The present government have decided to name one of the boats, new boats that we bring in, the APT James. I think it's an honor. In the sense that I remember reading somewhere along the line that he was one of the persons who was asking for enhanced transport between Trinidad and Tobago. It means that for at least the next 10 years, we will have a boat traveling between Trinidad and Tobago that carries the name of one of the outstanding citizens of Tobago, who really placed Tobago on the map by his contribution, not only as a member of the Legislative Council, but as a citizen in Tobago, assisting to develop Tobago and its people.
This new ferry is a fitting tribute to a son of the soil who has championed for improved inter-island travel between Trinidad and Tobago. The APT James is a visible symbol of the government's commitment to providing quality transportation for all.
Alfonso Filbert Theophilus James, A.P.T. James, a man that we would say truly made history in terms of politics in Trinidad and Tobago, and of course very specifically Tobago. Another man that has made history being the youngest Chief Secretary ever in the Tobago House of Assembly. We welcome Chief Secretary Ansel Dennis. Thank you for being here with us today.
It is my pleasure being here on this very auspicious day.
So, Secretary Dennis, let me understand, what does this vessel being named after A.P.T. James mean for you?
Well, for me personally, A.P.T. James is a significant part of Tobago's history, and not just Tobago, the history of Trinidad and Tobago. He was one of the greatest proponents of Tobago's development in many areas, be it tourism, agriculture, and many other aspects of our development. As a matter of fact, he was one of the greatest voices, the loudest voices, arguing for better connectivity between the two islands. So I think this vessel is aptly named after A.P.T. James. Aptly thinking about it, it's A.P.T. L.Y. So the vessel is quite appropriately named after him. I think it's an opportunity for us to honor his legacy. And today, as a Tobagonian, as a young Tobagonian, I am tremendously proud, like all of Tobago, I'm sure.
What would you like the people of Trinidad and Tobago to know about A.P.T. James? What are some of the significant factors about this political stalwart, this icon, this legend that you would love the people of Trinidad and Tobago to always remember?
Well, he certainly loved Tobago and its people. He worked tremendously hard personally. He was a resolute businessman, of course, for those of you who know the history. And therefore, he operated with great humility, a humble servant of the people, a man of service. And I think that is really the reason why today He's really remembered as a true great, a true son of the soil, one who fought for the well-being of the people of Tobago, one who fought for the quality of life that a lot of us enjoy today as Tobagonians.
Well, speaking of Tobagonians and the well-being of Tobagonians, what would you say this vessel would do for the people of Tobago?
Well, it's going to do a lot for the people of Tobago. And not just Tobago, but Trinidad and Tobago. Because, of course, Tobago is an integral part of this country, this twin island state. And anything that advances economic opportunities for Tobago will, in fact, automatically result in a better and stronger Trinidad and Tobago. And I think we could look at a number of opportunities. Of course, tourism, the island, especially at this point in time, is heavily reliant and dependent on domestic tourism. And I think over the years, we have relied heavily on the sea bridge. Of course, it's the most economical way to get to the island. And of course, if you are traveling with a vehicle, it's the only way to come to Tobago with a vehicle. So the sea bridge is very, very important in that regard. And the fact that we have this vessel, and very soon afterwards, we are going to have the Buku Reef, it means that a greater level of trust and confidence will be placed by citizens of this country in the sea bridge. And I believe with that confidence, persons will be more willing to travel to Tobago. And the borders are closed. Trinis have no choice but to come to Tobago at this point in time. And again, because of the closed borders, there are no international arrivals. And therefore, Tobago's only hope for tourism industry is really the domestic market. So it's a tremendous opportunity for us here in Tobago. Of course, we are going to operate within the confines of this pandemic to ensure that we continue to maintain safety and maintain all the required protocols that will guarantee us the kind of safety that we want at this point in time. But I'm sure that all Tobago business persons, especially those in the tourism sector, are today very happy, very relieved, and very proud because this government has kept its commitment to ensure that we can have a reliable sea bridge for many, many years to come. Of course, in terms of agriculture and other areas of business, it is an important aspect of our ability to trade between the two islands. I would say that Tobago's largest trading partner is in fact Trinidad, and therefore the movement of goods between the two islands, and I will hope that going forward, that in terms of food moving between the two islands, because I expect that in the not too distant future, Tobago will return to the place of being the food basket of this country, and we will not only feed ourselves in Tobago and feed Trinidad and this country, but we expect to contribute to food production in the region. And therefore, these two vessels coming at this point in time where we are now ramping up those initiatives will allow Tobagonians, farmers, agro-processors, and other business persons the opportunity to reliably transfer their goods to Trinidad and trade with our brothers and sisters in Trinidad. So I think there are a number of opportunities at this point in time to advance Tobago's economic development and advance the economic development of Trinidad and Tobago by extension.
Well, we look forward to that economic development. But also, one of the things that we always have to note, Chief Secretary Dennis, is our role as citizens as well when we are on these vessels and treating these vessels with respect. What do you have to say to that?
Well, we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to the future generations to maintain these vessels properly. All of us will remember the nightmares back in 2017 when, because of our inability to maintain the two previous vessels adequately, we had a situation where the sea bridge almost totally collapsed. Of course, the government had to take swift action. We brought in the Galleon's Passage, a vessel that was small in size, but at the point in time, it was needed, and it did fit in at the point in time to treat with what was in fact an emergency. Eventually, we got the JDLV, which I think everybody fell in love with. But now we have our own vessels, the APT James, the Buku Reef, and we still have one of the older vessels that will remain. And we have a responsibility to maintain them, but maintenance is not only the responsibility of the government or NIDCO or whoever will be responsible, but also the users of the vessels. We have a responsibility to respect the investment that the government has made in the citizens and in this country's development, and therefore we ought to operate in a way that will safeguard this investment for many, many years to come.
Thank you very much, Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, Ansel Dennis. We thank you so much for being here with us at Port of Spain here today. Now, for those of you all that have not seen it as yet, much like myself, here's a look at the interior of the APT James. Indeed, a majestic vessel. Right now, we're joined by Senator, the Honorable Minister of Works and Transport, Rohan Sinanan, joining us, and we can see the vessel in the channel approaching Port of Spain. Senator, please let us understand what this APT James vessel means for the transportation network of Trinidad and Tobago.
Hans, what this means for Trinidad and Tobago is another promise by the People's National Movement government, the fulfillment of another promise, which is to have the sea bridge operate at a level that will satisfy the demand and satisfy our customers at the Port of Spain. The arrival of this vessel definitely is a proud moment for me as minister, for members of the cabinet, and for the entire government, because this signifies the final phase in the three phases that we would have spoken about back in 2017. You'll recall I came in as minister at the end of 2016, and immediately upon taking that oath, I was faced with a challenge on the sea bridge. We had some trying times. We went through some serious challenges and some comments by the population that really, I mean, it was warranted because the service had virtually fallen down. We met a service on the passenger side where we had two vessels, the Spirit and the Express, which would not have been serviced for quite a while. We had a short-term, a medium-term, and a long-term plan. The short-term plan, where we had to actually utilize the two existing vessels to the best of their ability until we could actually rent or charter additional vessels. Fortunately, we got the Galleon Passage that came on stream, and we were able to lease the Jean de Valette as the medium-term plan. Our plan for the long term was to purchase two brand new custom-built ferries for our purpose. And today, I feel proud because I am seeing one of the vessels now coming into port, and all indications are that vessel, as someone told me, that is a Boursa boat. That is a Boursa boat. I think, again, as Trinbagonians, we are very proud to know that we could have designed a vessel to that caliber, have it manufactured by actually two of the leading vessel manufacturers in the world. And within just over a year, we can see these vessels sailing into the port of Port of Spain after having a stopover in Tobago. It's indeed a proud moment for us here.
Well, indeed, we see the majestic vessel making its way into port right now. But let's expand a little more on the overall transportation network in Trinidad and Tobago, because quite a few projects have been done under your purview as Minister of Works and Transport. So let's talk a little bit about some of those projects that are really contributing to making transport in Trinidad and Tobago much easier.
Okay, Hans, as I said, coming into office at the end of 2016, there were two major transportation challenges that we were faced with. One was the restarting of the San Fernando to Point Fortin Highway, and also the start of the Wallerfield to Sandy Grande Highway. Those were two major transportation infrastructures that the government wanted to get started. Again, we also had the challenge on the Sea Bridge. And I remember on the Sea Bridge speaking to Alison Lewis at the time, who was the chairman of the port. We did have a challenge on the cargo vessel, and I told her that when I look at the report on the passenger vessels, we are in for a rough ride. We were able to solve that passenger challenge on the Sea Bridge. We have the San Fernando to Point Fortin Highway going full speed ahead, and we are hoping to complete that highway sometime later on in 2021. And we have work going ahead on the Komodo to Sandy Grande Highway. We also have work going full speed ahead on the Valencia to Toco Highway. So in terms of our infrastructure, there's a lot of work happening, and we are working with the PTSC to have our public transport up to standard, and working with the Attorney General's office. We are also working to ensure that the PH taxis, as we refer to them, that we can bring them into some level of accountability and in line with what is accepted as a mode of public transportation. So we do have a lot going on in terms of the public transportation in Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, as the vessel makes its way into port, let's take another look at the initial reveal of the APT James.
The National Infrastructure Development Company Limited is pleased to announce that the APT James has almost completed its 11,573 nautical mile journey from Vietnam to Trinidad and Tobago. This state-of-the-art vessel, built to the specifications and needs of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, will boost the operational efficiency of the inter-island ferry service. The APT James will inject an additional 926 seats and can accommodate up to 250 vehicles at a maximum speed of 37.5 knots. This vessel will provide safe and efficient travel between Trinidad and Tobago by encouraging domestic tourism, facilitating business transactions, providing easy access to goods and services, and most importantly, bringing you and your loved ones closer together. Get on board, stay connected, as the APT James makes its way home.
Mere minutes away from the APT James making its way to Port of Spain. Minister Sinanan, this is your opportunity. We want you to officially introduce the APT James to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago as it makes its way here to the cruise ship complex.
Hans, this is an exciting feeling. I'm very proud to introduce to all the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago your first of your new ferries, the APT James. What a beauty coming into port. That's a beautiful sight there. We should be playing this song, Isn't She Lovely? All right, is it on mic? Yes. On mic, everybody. Well, just cut.
James makes its way into Port of Spain, we actually see another part of our transport network here in Trinidad and Tobago, one of the water taxis just leaving the port at this point in time. And as it crosses, it reveals once again the APT James, designed by Austal Australia and built in Vietnam. This vessel will be used to transport both vehicles and passengers at high speeds between the islands of Trinidad and Tobago. It has a capacity for 926 passengers and up to 250 cars. It is capable of traveling at a speed of 37.5 knots and will be able to complete the route in just 3 hours. The vessel was named after Alfonso Filbert Theophilus James, a famed rights activist who served in TNT's Legislative Council. And as we continue to observe the exterior of the vessel making its way to port, let's take a closer look once again at the interior. After a journey of over 11,000 nautical miles, you can actually hear the horn here at Port of Spain of the APT James. Long journey home from Vietnam with stops at Sri Lanka, East Africa, Egypt, Malta, Spain, Canary Islands, and finally here in the Port of Spain, Trinidad. This is the APT James making its way in. As the vessel makes its way in to port, let's take a look at when it passed by Scarborough, Tobago. Here it is, the newest addition to the inter-island ferry service here in Trinidad and Tobago, the A.P.T. James. 926 seats available for passengers and 250 vehicle capacity. We present to you this majestic vessel. It has arrived here in Port of Spain. So we thank you for joining us live for the official coverage of the arrival of the APT James. It is here in Port of Spain, Trinidad, and it will add to the service of our inter-island transportation. We thank you so much for watching. My name is Hans Devines. Have a good day, and we can't wait to see you on the APT James.
That was a ceremony hosted by the Ministry of Works and Transport to mark the arrival of the new fast ferry, the APT James, in Trinidad and Tobago. Stay tuned to TTT, Talk City 91.1 FM, and TTT Live Online for all the latest news. I'm DK Rasta.